Thank you for inviting me to come here and be part of this forum. Policies, practices, and sustainability. I tend to start from the end. Sustainability somehow includes the policies and the practices anyway. And by looking back, because I've been here 12 years, looking back to the very beginnings in 2002, when I was the director of the German Cultural Center, and reading an advertisement by then IPPA, in which interested students for German classes were sought, and looking at IPG, KBA, as it is now, solidly grounded with a sustainable history, I think that sustainability should also not just look at in terms of future visions, but also in what you have reached. And let me just go through a few stages very quickly to show you what I think you have already reached. So from this little ad in the newspaper, which could have been by any private language center and not a state organization, came the next step for me, and that was to meet the new group of 13 teachers of German who had been trained by the German Cultural Center Goethe Institute with the help of the Ministry of Education and Public Service Department, of course, in Germany and in Malaysia. And I met them as a teacher trainer, and I was amazed. Not only was Chick Hamida one of them, the senior, the grand old dame, she also had a Goethe teacher who happened to be my own teacher. It doesn't mean that she's old, it just means she's wise, and this teacher was excellent, and he trained me how to be a teacher of teachers of German in Malaysia. So there was a very close personal and private relationship established. From that time, that was 1998, they were trained and finished their training and started to teach in these 13 residential schools out of the 54, which there are, without a bachelor's degree, in those days not necessary yet, retrained from teachers of other subjects. The next step in this history was that Germany had difficulties to be acknowledged as a teacher trainer because our German university system only offered diplomas which were mistaken as vocational degrees in Malaysia, no wonder, even though they already were bachelor and master degree levels, until much later, in 2008, when Germany, in the Bologna process, took over the bachelor's and the master's degrees that are now internationally common. And that established a new relationship. But in the meantime, like in the years 2004, 5, 6, what happened was that we found a German university, Leipzig, who was willing and interested to take the first cohort of teaching aspirants to Leipzig and to train them there. And unfortunately, because there are so many players, and PSD is one of the most powerful players, this scheme of many years of policies and practices collapsed and opened up a completely new venue into a higher, or vein rather, into a higher level, into hooking to and establishing a bachelor's degree of German with education, because already had a bachelor's degree of German, and they still have it. And so there are 2 bachelor's degrees, and the one with education was established just across the wall, basically, from IPG KBA. And when I finished my days as director of Goethe, after 10 years, Talent Corp snatched me up, and I became a senior lecturer in UM, and I happened to be part of this wonderful group of IPG KBA teacher aspirants whose fate many years ago I had no idea of, but I now happened to meet in person. So it's quite a nice circle, but it shows you also how IPG KBA moved to a very high level. And I would say this solid, sustainable level can actually easily be compared with GMI, GAP, or with INTEC, UITM, with the best and highest in Malaysia. So I can only congratulate you to having reached already a considerable sustainability. And Dr. Mahathir, eat your heart out. There may not be 10,000 speakers of Japanese as sort of across the thumb expected in Bawasan 2020, but we are already there. We are on the way, and the foreign languages have become such a part of Malaysian life. I could write an article about this, how the media responded, how many discussions there were, and the fact actually that there are discussions about languages in Malaysia shows that you are at least at the level of Switzerland, which introduced German as which introduced English as a mandatory language in schools 2 years ago. I mean, we know Switzerland is French, Italian, and German, but English had not yet been an obligatory language only 2 years ago. So when you benchmark, you will probably have the pride that you are advertising, Professor Zide, the pride in your own tradition. Okay, this is the past and the present, and if you are thinking in terms of sustainability for the future, maybe I should just quote myself what I have written in preparation for this little speech. Because there are some things which I could actually envisage. And you already mentioned extending the number of languages, Asian and European languages, for your own institute. I would also wish for some states that have not certain languages taught in school, and because I traveled a lot as a cultural mediator, I know that Sarawak and Sabah have no schools yet with German. Neither have Terengganu or Kelantan. So the expansion, that's not the task of IPG KBA, but I mean, you are such diplomatic messengers and mediators, and you have to be with PSD and with the Ministry of Education. I'm sure you'll manage. This would be great. This is one thing I have noticed many times, not getting asked when I go there and give speeches. We have no German. Whose fault is that? The second thing, of course, is here in IPG KBA, you had at one stage a native speaker of German, and German is just an example for the other languages. So at this moment, there is none. And I think you have an incredibly high level of language proficiency with C1, according to your European Framework of Languages. It's the second highest you can ever reach. C2 is mastership in the language, like a native, and you are already at C1. That's top. Yeah. But in order to maintain that, in order to maintain it for your own lectures, and also for the university you cooperate with, it would be great to have a native speaker again, to be one of your lecturers, and maybe even with a pedagogical background, to just get an influx of international pedagogical ideas as well into your language program. So that's another thing. The third thing that I have in mind is this program, this wonderful program of German with education in as far as IPG KBA is concerned, is coming to an end, which is very sad. I mean, originally, 100 teachers of German, maybe that was too many, were envisaged. Now we have reached around 30 teachers of German in high schools, because you also opened, after the residential schools, the day schools for languages. So I think it needs a cooperative concept, what to do next, maybe to look at the demand and supply of foreign languages in Malaysia. This is something I was part of in Australia. This was a process in the 1990s that they sat down and said, what are actually the needs of foreign languages in our country? And here comes economy and so on. And then to establish solid, sustainable concepts and structures for the language teaching here and in combination with universities. I think that's basically it. And maybe one more remark to you, Enchik Aslam. Yes, the economy is important, and the interesting thing is, it makes itself so important that we are not really much of the master of it. It is the most powerful factor in our societies, but when you look at language teaching and language learning, there is something, and maybe I should quote Goethe. He was, not only he translated the Quran into German and wrote a book about West Eastern Divan, but he also was very sure that when you learn a foreign language, you learn more about yourself. And we have here, and this is such a noticeable atmosphere, the human touch, and I love that. I think we should sustain that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think if we stay on, there's so much more that we want to get from our panelists, because 2 hours is just too little based on their biodata, right? But anyway, we have come to the end of our forum. And ladies and gentlemen, it takes me great pleasure. Together, we give a big round of applause to our panelists. Yang berbahagia Profesor Dato Dr. Siddiq bin Baba, yang berbahagia Profesor Haji Junichi Watanabe, and of course, Professor Dr. Hans Volker Wolf. Because in German language, you pronounce as an F. Yeah. So thank you very much. I think we have gained a lot from these esteemed speakers. And of course, this is not the end. Just one last statement that I want the panelists to confirm. One last statement. Do you think, it's a $1 million question, do you think IPG KBA should retain the teaching of French, German, Japanese? Let's listen from the panelists. Yes or no? Yes? Yes. Definitely yes. And we are embarking on Korean language very soon. Our Honorable Rector is sitting there. Honorable Rector, the panelists say yes. German, French, Japanese, Korean. At the least. We should have that in IPG KBA. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. And one more round of applause for our panelists.
We have come to the end of the International Languages Forum 2014. And it impressed me, and I suppose the last question posed by Mr. Aslam was actually directed, not directly to me, as far as I'm concerned, but more to the ministry. Because I keep on mentioning to Wan Hajar Rohana, looking at the theme, what worries Iqbal is only the last one, sustainability. Because practices is what we have been doing. Nothing, there's no harm, there's no worry on that. But policies is beyond our control. if you pose that question to me, I said, I'm equally concerned. I'm equally worried. Because we are the service providers, but the one who set the policy as somebody else. But we believe Professor Dr. Siddiq Baba will assist us to give the impression of how important it is, the foreign languages for the nation, not just for the teaching profession. I was mentioning to Dr. Ghazali, when Malaysian went abroad to Japan, for instance, the trip was arranged normally by travel agencies, and they have so-called guides who are supposed actually to assist them all through the trips. But normally, when they reach Japan, the role of these guides will be taken over by Japanese guides who are very fluent in Bahasa Melayu. Worse, if they don't have enough those guides fluent in Bahasa Melayu, they will get those fluent in Bahasa Indonesia. So, we need Malaysians who are well versed in Japanese, not just to be teachers, but also to be at least tourist guides. Because Malaysians are so fond of going abroad when they have extra money. Puan Rohana just came back from the US because she got extra money. This one-day forum, I trust, has been invaluable for participants in exploring the theme of policies, practices, and sustainability. In recent years, our education system has come under much public scrutiny and debate. Therefore, any enhancement or improvement would need to be based on grounded research findings, teachers' voices, and student data on performance. It would also need to be context-based and relevant to our diverse and multicultural classrooms. Ladies and gentlemen, in this globalized era, the success of a nation depends essentially on the knowledge, skills, and competencies of its people. Teachers and teachers educators play a critical role to constantly upgrade and reinvent their professional knowledge and practices. For teacher education to have best practices and innovation in its forefront, a platform such as this forum proves extremely beneficial. However, let's not this platform end here. Rather, it should be the beginning of other structured events or activities to get teacher educators to articulate their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and concepts on the respective local institution and among networks of educational institutions. Through the Malaysian Education Blueprint 2013-2025, Malaysia has embarked on policies and strategies of transforming the national education system to align themselves with global trends and meeting global demands, as well as sustaining a progressively high quality of education for a secure future. In transforming the system, the third shift of the education blueprint aims at ensuring that every child is proficient in both Bahasa Malaysia as well as English language. And it is encouraged to learn an additional language. This competence to communicate in multiple languages will make the nation be more internationally relevant and functional. Our future generation must learn to communicate and to collaborate with teams of people across cultural, geographic, and language barriers to be on par with others in the eyes of the world. We should not fear that our future generation will lose their traditions, but with new knowledge and the ability to think critically, our future generation will flourish and stay relevant in the job market. Ladies and gentlemen, improvement to teacher learning and development is an integral and essential part of our educational blueprint 2013-2025. To do this, we have to raise the quality of teaching profession to produce excellent teachers. When prospective teachers are well trained, they would make a definite difference in the classroom, enhance the lives of pupils throughout the country. They will help to improve students' performance and hence close the gap between the urban and rural, or rich and poor. In promoting holistic individuals, effective education goes beyond academic achievements. Students should be exposed to a richer school experience, both academic and non-academic, so they will excel in life. The success of our educational blueprint is at the end of the day measured or assessed not just through the performance of the teachers we produce, but more so by the kind of pupils or generation we bring up in schools. So with the new generation of students coming into our classroom, teachers need to pursue aggressively new direction and focus on understanding the next generation. Today's next generation learners are digital, connected, experiential, immediate, and social. Their learning preferences are themes, peer-to-peer engagement and experience, visual and kinesthetic, and in pursuing things that matter. The web is the primary information source, not the library. They have a short attention span, demand fast response time, and are reflective. These specific demands and different learners will require teachers to approach academic assessment and curricular and pedagogical research with a new fervor. I was told that that word is actually French, so it's rojak there. First, there is a need for teachers to understand students and their learning endeavor, another French. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth shift of the education blueprint is to transform the teaching profession, and to achieve this, teachers and teacher educators play a critical role to constantly upgrade and reinvent their professional knowledge and practice. Education is the key to our nation's success, and as educators, we must constantly strive to improve education, not only for this generation, but for those to come. For teacher education to have best practices and innovation in its forefront, a platform such as this forum proves to be extremely useful. IPG Kampus Bahasa Antarabangsa is the only IPG in the country that has an international languages department specifically to train teachers to teach foreign languages such as French, German, and Japanese. Somebody mentioned at least. The exposure to foreign languages certainly fulfills the aspiration of the second shift in the blueprint, which is to enable students to access the vast amount of knowledge and information available globally as education in the 21st century enters a new era which focuses on creativity, innovation, and sustainability. I have no doubt that this forum has seen many presenters addressing the challenges and opportunities to enhance the quality of teacher education. They have undoubtedly discussed the need for a new paradigm in teacher education and articulated the roles of the teacher trainers and teachers. You would have participated in sessions on pedagogy, andragogy, trainer's role, best practices, and sustainability and teacher quality. You would have certainly found this session rewarding and enriching. This International Languages Forum 2014 offers opportunities for the sharing of knowledge and experiences in the teaching and learning of international languages among educators. The purpose of this forum is to disseminate information, ideas, and to learn from each other, in order to be able to fulfill our role as effective educators who can impact positively on the development of the future. In this respect, I hope this will be the beginning of a culture of sharing of best practices at various levels, spearheaded by academic leaders. When leaders lead in this field and provide the necessary support and mechanism, teacher education will advance according to its missions. This, I believe, is the right direction to go. For this, I would like to express my appreciation by congratulating IPG Kampus Bahasa Antarabangsa for taking this initiative in organizing this forum, which has succeeded in achieving its objectives. I was telling Puan Rohana that our colleagues in EPRD, our colleague in the Curriculum Development Division, at least must be here, because they are the one involved deeply in policies making. But I saw my friend Hisham is here. He's from Curriculum EPRD. So I suppose he will be relating whatever mentioned during the forum, especially to his superior, starting with EPRD, and I suppose it should be brought further up to the KPPM, to KSU, and all those. I was also telling Puan Rohana, maybe we have to think differently. We have the expertise, but we realize there's needs for Malaysian to acquire foreign languages. But maybe they wouldn't be teachers. How about conducting short courses? Maybe we start with short courses for the one I mentioned earlier, that will benefit the travel agencies. Short courses for those who will be posted for international posting, like those involved in the oil and gas industry. Normally, when they are posted to other countries, they will first have to learn, if not much, at least a bit of the culture and language of those countries. So maybe we can assist in German, we can assist in French, we can assist in Japanese. What else? Do we have Korea? We have been assisting on Korean programs, but maybe we don't have expert in Korean language yet, just not yet. God's willing, I suppose there's room for us to contribute to our nation. I personally believe acquiring more than just English and Bahasa Melayu. Sorry, I'm a Bahasa Melayu man, so I wouldn't say that it is Bahasa Malaysia. Prof, minta maaf, Prof. So it's just not enough, just English and Bahasa Melayu. We need other languages. For the other Malaysian non-Chinese, don't you think that Mandarin is as important so as Tamil? Because I believe if you are to venture into businesses, the biggest market seems to be in those two countries. So, with the name of God, with the name of Allah, I now declare the forum closed. Ladies and gentlemen, on to our next significant event of the year. The MTCP program commences today. MTCP was officially launched on September 7, 1980, at the Commonwealth Heads of State meeting in New Delhi to signify Malaysia's commitment to the South-South cooperation, in particular to share its development, experiences, and expertise with other developing countries. Based on the belief that the development of a country depends on the quality of its human resources. MTCP emphasizes the development of human resources through the provision of training in various areas which are essential for a country's development, such as public administration, good governance, health services, education, sustainable development, agriculture, poverty alleviation, investment, promotion, ICT, and banking. More than 100 short-term specialized courses are offered by more than 50 MTCP training institutions, many of which are centers of excellence for training. Since its launch, more than 25,000 participants from about 140 countries have benefited from the various programs offered under the MTCP. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all the participants from Indonesia, Yemen, Oman, Laos, Uzbekistan, and Bhutan for the 2014 MTCP program, conducted by IPG Kampus Bahasa Antarabangsa. It now gives me great pleasure to officiate the 2014 MTCP program. I wish all of you an enriching learning and sharing experience, and I hope this partnership will benefit Malaysia and all the participant countries. Thank you.